Assessment is over. The trial of the Paralympian is expected to resume in the North Gauteng High Court today. Pistorius is facing murder charges for killing his girlfriend Reeva Steenkamp on Valentine's Day last year. To talk more about mental evaluations in murder cases in general, we're talking to Gerhard Grundling, who is the chairperson of the Clinical Psychology Forum. It's good to have you. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
What happens during the mental evaluation?
It's actually quite an extensive process with the various professionals, the psychiatrists and clinical psychologists being part of the team, the core team that would evaluate somebody. And they would do various tests. They would obviously have quite a number of interviews with Oscar to determine whether he actually suffers from generalized anxiety disorder, because that was the diagnosis that was brought to court by Dr. Merrill Foster. But they would also like to exclude certain things, because with generalized anxiety disorder, one of the common things that could be present could be organic or physical components that they need to exclude. So they will do blood tests, they might do brain scans, they would most probably do psychological testing, look at personality factors, who the guy really is, who is Oscar Pistorius, you know, and they would certainly go into the finer details, because if one looks at generalized anxiety disorder, then it's not merely just having excessive worry now about something or something that has happened. It must have been there for quite a prolonged period of time, at least 6 months, and it needs to have quite a couple of things also as part of the picture to be able to make the diagnosis.
What implications does something like this, a mental evaluation, have on a murder case?
Well, if there are in fact two things that the team need to report on that's very critical in terms of the Criminal Procedures Act. The one is that there must be an assessment to see whether Oscar could decide between right and wrong at the time of the crime, and whether he was able then to act in accordance with his understanding of the situation. Now, if the team finds that he was not able to distinguish between right and wrong, or that he was not able to act accordingly, then it certainly would mean that he would become declared a state patient, or that he was, because of mental reasons, he can't be found guilty.
Yeah. This particular instance where Oscar Pistorius is concerned, could this affect the judge's thinking in terms of the sentence that she hands down to him? If she may have thought one way, perhaps after this evaluation she may think another way, could it affect the trial that much?
It could affect the trial that much if the findings of the team is very clear-cut and that he was affected by this mental disorder at the time.
This general anxiety disorder.
That certainly would, I think, be the main thing that would affect her judgment.
Yeah. Do we know if Oscar Pistorius was being treated? We heard him talking during his testimony that he's on antidepressants now, sleeping tablets now. Do we know, was he on this at the time that he murdered Reeva Steenkamp?
That I wouldn't be able to...
We don't know that as yet.
Yes.
Because if he was being treated then for it, perhaps it shouldn't be too much of an issue. But these are all things we're going to find out, no doubt.
Yes. So the team certainly would have gone into that, and often they would also get help of social workers to go and get collateral information, if necessary, to go to childhood and see what has happened there, to kind of get a global, holistic view of the person that they are dealing with. But those things would certainly become part of the report.
Most definitely, I imagine so. I mean, this doesn't just creep up on you out of nowhere.
Yes.
This is something that you live with and you need to treat.
Yes.
I imagine a guy like Oscar would treat it.
Yes.
You know, it's been quite interesting to see 30 days we've had now that we haven't had a court case. And yet, in the greater scheme of things, and when you're looking at normal court cases, I believe you can actually wait up to a year sometimes for these mental evaluations because of backlogs at some of these our health facilities. Is this the case?
I don't work there, but my understanding is that there often is a backlog, yes. of people needing to wait for evaluation. Yes.
Yeah, I can imagine, because this was a fast one. He was sent for them, he had them, and now he's back in court. So
yes.
It could be quite interesting to see what happens. But there are some circumstances, like it's been declined. For example, in the Marikana, in the Farnham Commission, Mr. X was declined in mental evaluation. So there are cases where they say no, it's not necessary.
Yes, yes, yeah. Yes. So I think it's really, if the court feels that there is really grounds for, and I think that is what has happened here, that Dr. Merrill Forster testified, and she said this was the diagnosis that she made, and then the or the state then argued their case that he should go for this mental observation.
All right, let's see what happens today. Even though we did hear news stories saying that one of the psychologists or psychiatrists that was treating Oscar Pistorius did have a heart attack, but many of the reports saying this shouldn't have an effect on the reporting back. So it should go as planned as court resumes this morning. Griselda Lewis is outside of the court and will be crossing to her in a short while. That'll happen in our news at 7. So thank you very much for joining us. Gerhard Grundling, the chairperson of the Clinical Psychology Forum, just giving us a bit of background information on what happens during these clinical and mental evaluations. Let's take